Welcome to World Information HD, your go-to source for the astonishing, the historical, and the extremely rare. Today, we're diving into the world of numismatics as we reveal the top 13 most valuable Lincoln pennies in the USA, those ultra-rare specimens that have fetched millions at auction. These aren't just coins, they're pieces of history that tell stories of mintage errors, scarcity, and sheer wonder. So stay tuned. You'll see coins so rare even collectors dream of holding them in their hands. The world of coin collecting is like opening a time capsule. Each coin you hold in your hand carries with it a piece of history, a reflection of the era it was minted in, and in some cases, a mystery worth thousands of dollars. Among the countless coins minted in the United States, the Lincoln cent holds a special place in the hearts of collectors, historians, and treasure seekers alike. One of the most fascinating examples is the 1964 Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a small piece of copper that has captured the attention of numismatists across the globe. When most people see a penny, they see just 1 cent, something easily tossed aside, lost in couch cushions, or forgotten at the bottom of a drawer. But what if I told you that a simple coin from 1964, bearing the tiny Mint mark, could be worth thousands today? What if that everyday coin in your pocket change turned out to be the ticket to uncovering a hidden fortune? That is the mystery and the allure of the 1964 Lincoln penny. To truly understand why this coin has become such a sought-after treasure, we must go back to the time of its creation. The year was 1964, a turbulent yet defining year in American history. The country was in the midst of the civil rights movement. President Lyndon B. Johnson had signed the Civil Rights Act into law, and the world was feeling the tensions of the Cold War. Against this backdrop of political, social, and cultural change, the United States Mint was carrying out its everyday work, striking millions of Lincoln cents at facilities in Philadelphia and Denver. The Lincoln cent itself had already been in circulation for more than half a century. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it quickly became one of the most beloved coins in American history. With Victor David Brenner's portrait of the 16th president on the obverse and the wheat ears on the reverse, it stood as a proud reminder of Lincoln's legacy. In 1959, the reverse design was changed to the Lincoln Memorial, marking 150 years since Lincoln's birth. By 1964, the Lincoln Memorial reverse was still relatively new, making those coins feel modern and different at the time. The Denver Mint, identified by its Mint mark just below the date, played a major role in producing these pennies. In 1964 alone, the Denver facility struck over 3 billion pennies, making it one of the highest mintages of the series. With such enormous production numbers, one might wonder why a single coin from that year could command the interest of collectors. After all, if billions were made, wouldn't that make them common and nearly worthless? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and the hidden details that separate an ordinary penny from a prized collectible. Not all 1964 Lincoln pennies are worth a fortune. In fact, most of them are worth only a few cents over face value, even today. But within that ocean of billions, there exist coins of extraordinary quality, errors that slipped past the eyes of inspectors, and pieces so well preserved that they defy the odds of time. One of the reasons collectors chase after the 1964 penny is because of striking errors. Mint errors can turn an everyday coin into a rarity. For example, some 1964 pennies were struck off-center, creating a dramatic look where part of the design is missing. Others display double die errors, where the inscriptions or images appear doubled under magnification. These mistakes weren't intentional, but they became treasures for collectors because of how rare they are. Imagine a penny that looks like it has a ghostly second image of the word, Liberty, or the date, 1964, stamped on it. That oddity transforms it from pocket change into a historical curiosity worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But errors aren't the only factor. Condition is just as important, if not more so. Most pennies struck in 1964 were spent and respent, exchanged in shops, dropped on sidewalks, and passed through countless hands. By the time many of these pennies reach collectors today, they are worn, scratched, and dull. yet a select few avoided circulation altogether. Maybe they were tucked away in coin rolls, stored carefully in collections, or simply forgotten in a drawer for decades. These coins, untouched by daily wear, are known as uncirculated pennies. Their sharp details, brilliant luster, and pristine condition make them highly desirable. Grading plays a huge role in determining the value of the 1964 Lincoln penny. Professional grading services evaluate coins based on their condition, assigning them a grade on a scale from 1 to 70. A well-worn penny might only rate a 10 or 20, while a nearly flawless specimen could score a 65 or higher, placing it in the category of mint state. For the 1964 penny, finding one in high mint state condition is exceptionally rare, which explains why certain examples have sold for thousands at auctions. Collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums for the privilege of owning a coin that looks exactly as it did when it left the mint over half a century ago. Beyond condition and errors, there is something almost magical about the pursuit of this penny. The thrill of searching through rolls of coins, the anticipation of spotting a mint error under magnification, and the satisfaction of uncovering a hidden gem create an adventure that transcends the mere monetary value of the coin. For many collectors, the 1964 Lincoln penny represents more than just copper. It represents the excitement of discovery. It is also important to consider the broader historical context of 1964. This was the final year before the Coinage Act of 1965, which dramatically changed the composition of U.S. coins. Silver was removed from dimes, quarters, and half dollars, altering the landscape of American currency forever. The 1964 penny, though not affected by these changes, still represents the end of an era. It stands as a link between the past and the future, a reminder of the transformations taking place in the mid-20th century. Collectors often ask, how can you tell if your 1964 Lincoln penny is valuable? The answer begins with a close examination. First, check for the mint mark, D, beneath the date, confirming it was struck at the Denver Mint. Next, study the coin's condition. Does it still have its original shine, or has it been worn down? If you spot unusual features, such as doubling of the letters or numbers, or if the design looks misaligned, you may have stumbled upon an error variety. In that case, it's worth consulting a professional grading service to have your coin authenticated and graded. Over the years, certain 1964 Lincoln pennies in exceptional condition or with rare errors have crossed the auction block, surprising even seasoned collectors with their hammer prices. Stories of pennies fetching thousands have fueled the fascination, inspiring countless people to re-examine their change jars, coin rolls, and inherited collections in hopes of finding one of these treasures. The beauty of coin collecting lies in its accessibility. Unlike other collectibles that may be out of reach for the average person, coins are everywhere. Anyone could stumble across a valuable penny in their spare change, making the hobby both inclusive and exciting. The 1964 penny embodies this spirit perfectly. It's a reminder that fortune can be found in the most unexpected places. As we reflect on the journey of the 1964 Lincoln 1-cent penny, we see a story that stretches far beyond copper and numbers. We see a coin born during a pivotal time in history, produced in massive numbers, yet capable of standing out because of condition, rarity, and human fascination. We see a symbol of Lincoln's enduring legacy, preserved in metal and carried through generations. And for the lucky few who find one of these extraordinary examples, we see a life-changing discovery hiding in plain sight. Now comes the part you've been waiting for. How much can a 1964 Lincoln penny actually be worth? While the vast majority may only fetch a small premium, certain rare examples in pristine condition have stunned collectors and auctioneers alike. One such coin reached an astonishing value of $29,377. Welcome back to World Information HD, the channel where history, rarity, and hidden treasures come alive through stories of coins that have shaped both collectors' dreams and everyday American pockets. Today, we dive into a coin that may look small, simple, and even ordinary at first glance, but upon closer inspection, it reveals an extraordinary story. This is the tale of the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, one of the most fascinating and mysterious coins ever struck in the United States of America. Now, you may be wondering, what could possibly make a penny from 1982 stand out among billions of coins minted that same year? After all, pennies have been produced by the U.S. Mint in massive numbers for more than a century. To most people, they are the least exciting denomination, the coin that sits forgotten in jars, under car seats, or at the bottom of a purse. But as collectors and history enthusiasts know, sometimes the smallest coin hides the biggest surprises. The year 1982 was unlike any other for the Lincoln cent. It was a year of transition, a year where the penny quite literally changed its very composition. For decades, the familiar Lincoln penny had been made of 95% copper, giving it a weight of 3.11 grams and a reddish-brown shine when freshly struck. But with rising copper prices in the late 1970s and early 1980s, producing each cent was becoming increasingly expensive for the U.S. Mint. In fact, the value of the copper inside the penny was threatening to exceed the coin's face value. This problem forced the Mint to take action. In 1982, the Mint introduced a brand new composition for the penny, changing it from mostly copper to a core of zinc coated with a thin layer of copper. This new coin weighed only 2.5 grams, making it lighter and cheaper to produce. But here's where the story becomes truly remarkable, because the transition happened in the middle of the year. Both types of pennies, copper and zinc, were minted in 1982. This created a situation where collectors would need to pay close attention, because the year produced not just one or two, but 7 different varieties of Lincoln cents. Let's break that down. The 1982 penny exists in 2 different metals, copper and zinc. It also exists in 2 different styles of the date on the front, large date and small date. Finally, these were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with the latter carrying a tiny D mint mark. When you combine these factors, you get an unusually large variety of 1982 cents, and that's not even counting the proof coins struck in San Francisco. But among all of these, one particular type has captured the imagination of collectors worldwide: the 1982 no mint mark Lincoln cent. At first glance, this penny looks like any other. On the front, you see Abraham Lincoln's profile, designed by Victor David Brenner back in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. On the back, you find the Lincoln Memorial, a design used from 1959 through 2008. Nothing seems unusual, until you notice something missing. This coin carries no mint mark. Usually, coins from Philadelphia around that time either carried no mint mark at all or later began to feature a P. But in 1982, the absence of a mint mark takes on a special meaning. Combined with the transitional year and the fact that both copper and zinc versions exist, the no mint mark penny becomes something of a mystery. It forces collectors to ask, is it copper or zinc? Large date or small date? And why do some examples fetch staggering prices at auction? Part of the answer lies in rarity and condition. Millions of 1982 pennies without mint marks were indeed produced, but not all were created equal. When you start separating them into copper and zinc, large date and small date, the population numbers begin to shrink for certain combinations. Add in the challenge of finding an example in pristine, mint state condition, and suddenly the supply becomes much smaller than the demand. Collectors have always loved transitional year coins, and 1982 is perhaps the most dramatic transition of them all. Imagine being alive in 1982 and dropping a penny into your pocket, never realizing that some of those coins carried hidden traits that future collectors would obsess over. At the time, no one gave much thought to whether a penny weighed 3.11 grams or 2.5 grams. No one looked at the date with a magnifying glass to distinguish between large date and small date varieties. People simply spent them. Yet today, that simple act of spending means that many of the best examples are long gone, leaving only a handful of well-preserved coins for collectors to chase. Over the years, stories have surfaced of lucky individuals stumbling upon one of these rarities. Sometimes it happens at a coin show, where a sharp-eyed collector recognizes the difference between a large and small date. Other times, it happens in a change jar at home, when someone with curiosity and patience weighs their coins and discovers a copper example hiding in plain sight. For those who are truly fortunate, the discovery can feel like striking gold, because the marketplace for these pennies is intense. The coin community has devoted endless hours to studying the varieties of 1982. Specialists use precision scales to weigh each coin, microscopes to study the date styles, and reference books filled with images to confirm their findings. Even with all this technology, mistakes still happen, because the differences can be subtle to the untrained eye. For example, the small date variety has a slightly thinner and taller 2 in the date, while the large date appears rounder and bolder. To spot this difference requires patience and attention. Now, when we talk about value, it's not just about rarity. It's about condition. Coin grading plays a major role in determining worth. A heavily worn 1982 no-mint mark cent found in circulation might only be worth a few cents. But when you take that same coin in mint state, with no scratches, strong luster, and full details, the price climbs dramatically. Coins that grade MS65, MS66, or even higher are the ones that make headlines at auctions. And that is precisely what has happened with certain examples of the 1982 no-mint mark penny. Collectors love a good story, and this coin provides just that, a story of transition, oversight, and survival against the odds. When a coin has a tale that stretches beyond its face value, people are willing to pay incredible sums to own it. That's why, in recent years, the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny has made waves in the numismatic world. Imagine holding a coin no bigger than your fingertip, yet knowing it has the power to captivate collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. Imagine knowing that this tiny piece of metal carries within it the story of America's economic challenges, the mint's response, and the quirks of production that left behind varieties no one expected. It's more than just a penny, it's a piece of living history. And that brings us to the question everyone wants answered: what is one of these coins truly worth? Well, the market speaks loudly. Auction houses have seen bidding wars erupt over high-grade specimens. Collectors eager to complete their sets, or simply to own a piece of 1982's legacy, have pushed the value of these coins to incredible heights. And while not every 1982 no-mint mark penny will bring in a fortune, the finest examples, the rarest combinations in the best condition, have reached prices that defy expectations. So here it is, the number that has stunned coin collectors and casual viewers alike. One extraordinary 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny sold for an astonishing $31,388. The year was 1984. A time when the United States was buzzing with energy, the economy was shifting, technology was beginning to find its way into people's homes, and the world of coin collecting was quietly setting the stage for a future filled with astonishing discoveries. Among the many coins minted that year, one stands out not for its face value, but for the incredible story it holds and the fascination it has sparked among collectors. I'm talking about the 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance but is anything but ordinary when you truly begin to understand its background, history, and the surprising fortune it can hold. Now, most people who glance at a penny from the 1980s may see just another piece of pocket change. After all, pennies are the most common coin in circulation, and we tend to overlook them compared to silver dollars or half dollars. Yet, when it comes to coin collecting, the magic lies in the details, small imperfections, minting quirks, and historical contexts that transform a single cent into a prized collectible worth thousands. The 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is part of the legendary Lincoln cent series, which began in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Sculptor Victor David Brenner designed the iconic portrait of Lincoln that still graces the front of the coin today. By the time we get to 1984, the Lincoln penny had already been in circulation for 75 years. Millions upon millions had been produced, yet certain variations from this year stand apart and capture the attention of collectors worldwide. The first thing we need to understand about this penny is the no-mint mark designation. For many U.S. coins, a small letter near the date identifies the mint where the coin was struck, such as D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or P for Philadelphia. Interestingly, pennies produced in Philadelphia in the 1980s did not carry a mint mark at all. So, when we say 1984 no mint mark penny, we are specifically referring to coins produced in Philadelphia. On the surface, that might not sound unusual. But what makes this penny truly fascinating is the combination of errors, die varieties, and unique qualities that occurred during that year's minting process. One of the most famous varieties of the 1984 penny is the double-ear Lincoln cent. If you look closely at Lincoln's ear on the obverse side, some 1984 pennies show clear doubling, a striking minting error that collectors call a double die. These varieties are not just mistakes, they are like hidden treasures within the world of numismatics. A double die error happens when the design on the coin is impressed more than once at slightly different angles or positions during the creation of the die itself. The result is an extra layer of detail that can often be spotted by the naked eye, though magnification makes it even clearer. For the 1984 double-ear penny, Lincoln's ear appears to have a ghostly duplicate right next to it, making it one of the most sought-after varieties from that year. But the doubled ear is not the only factor that collectors care about. Condition is king when it comes to coin value. Many 1984 pennies have circulated through countless hands, been tossed into piggy banks, spent at corner stores, and carried around in pockets until their luster wore thin. Yet a small percentage of these coins have survived in pristine condition, preserved in rolls or mint sets, and those are the coins that command the highest prices at auction. Coins graded at the top of the scale by professional grading services, like PCGS or NGC, can fetch truly staggering amounts. Think about it this way: a regular 1984 penny you might pull out of your change jar today is worth only 1 cent. But a 1984 no mint mark penny in perfect, uncirculated condition, especially if it has that rare double-ear variety, could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the grade and demand. Collectors are willing to pay these high prices because they're not just buying a coin, they're buying a piece of history, a rarity that very few others can own, and a symbol of how imperfections in the minting process can create treasures in disguise. Now let's dive deeper into why 1984 is such an interesting year for Lincoln pennies. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins to keep up with the growing economy. Copper prices were fluctuating, and just a couple of years before, the Mint had already transitioned pennies from a mostly copper composition to a primarily zinc core with a thin copper coating. This change occurred in 1982, making the coins lighter and cheaper to produce. By 1984, the Mint was still adjusting to this new process, and the switch to zinc-based pennies brought its own challenges. These coins were more prone to developing spots, streaks, or other issues that collectors today pay close attention to. So, a clean, unspotted, fully red 1984 penny is significantly harder to find than one might think. Another element to consider is the role of Philadelphia in U.S. coin production. Without a mint mark, Philadelphia coins can seem plain compared to their Denver or San Francisco counterparts. However, this lack of a mint mark gives them a certain charm and often leads new collectors to wonder why it's missing. It's almost as if the coin is holding a secret, one that only experienced collectors can explain. That mystery adds to the appeal. Stories of lucky finds always fuel the fascination with coins like the 1984 no mint mark penny. Imagine someone picking up an old coffee can of change that's been sitting in a garage for decades, only to discover a shiny 1984 penny with a double-ear variety. That single cent could turn into a small fortune overnight. Tales like these inspire people to check their pocket change, search through jars of coins inherited from family members, and pay closer attention to what might otherwise seem like ordinary money. The beauty of coin collecting is that it transforms everyday objects into artifacts of art, history, and economics. Each coin carries the story of the era in which it was made, the materials used, the political decisions behind its design, the technology of the minting process, and even the mistakes that slipped through quality control. The 1984 no mint mark Lincoln penny tells us about a time when the mint was adapting to new materials, producing massive numbers of coins, and still occasionally creating unintentional varieties that now drive collectors wild. It's also worth mentioning how grading and preservation affect the value. A coin that has never been in circulation, known as mint state, is graded on a numerical scale from 60 to 70. A penny at the high end of that scale, say MS 68 or higher, is incredibly rare. Fewer than a handful of such coins may exist for certain varieties, and when they do, collectors will bid aggressively to secure them. That is where we see record-breaking prices that astonish those unfamiliar with the coin world. So, next time you come across a 1984 penny, take a closer look. Examine Lincoln's ear, check the surfaces for scratches, shine, or luster, and consider the possibility that what you hold in your hand might be more than just 1 cent. It might be part of a story that stretches back over a century of American history, a story that began with Abraham Lincoln's enduring legacy and continues to this very day in the hands of collectors and historians. What makes this particular coin so compelling is the balance of accessibility and rarity. On one hand, millions of 1984 pennies are still floating around in circulation. On the other hand, the finest examples, with unique features like the doubled ear or stunning mint state quality, are scarce enough to be considered treasures. That tension keeps collectors searching, hoping, and investing their time and passion into finding the perfect specimen. In the grand world of coin collecting, the 1984 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny proves a simple but powerful point. You never know what value might be hiding in plain sight. Something as small as a penny, overlooked by most, can end up being one of the most remarkable finds in your collection. It's not about the face value, it's about the story, the rarity, and the demand among those who understand its true worth. And finally, while most pennies will only ever be worth a cent, a select few from 1984 stand apart. A perfectly preserved, no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny from this year has reached a staggering auction record of $36,487. The story of coins is never just about metal and numbers. It is about history, mistakes, art, the economy, and the mysteries that captivate collectors around the world. Among the endless series of pennies produced by the United States Mint, a few stand out as legends. Today, we dive into the world of the 1994 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a tiny piece of copper-plated zinc that has become a symbol of rarity, fascination, and hidden treasure. Imagine, for a moment, holding a penny that looks ordinary, no different from the hundreds you may have tossed into a drawer or slipped into a jar at home. Now, picture learning that this very coin could be the gateway to life-changing wealth, the kind of find collectors dream about and treasure hunters chase. The 1994 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny belongs to this small but remarkable category. To truly understand why this coin has captured the attention of numismatists and investors alike, we have to rewind the story of the Lincoln cent itself. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, the coin replaced the Indian head cent that had circulated since the late 1800s. The Lincoln penny was groundbreaking. For the first time in U.S. history, a real person, a revered leader, appeared on circulating American coinage. The obverse design, created by Victor David Brenner, displayed Lincoln's dignified profile. The reverse originally showcased 2 wheat ears, a design that lasted until 1958, when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial image. By the time 1994 arrived, the Lincoln Memorial reverse was firmly established and widely recognized. Billions of pennies were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, flooding into circulation. To the average person, they were just pennies, small change to buy gum, candy, or perhaps nothing at all in a world where inflation had already eroded their spending power. But buried within this sea of copper-plated zinc, some coins emerged as extraordinary. What makes the 1994 no-mint Mark penny fascinating is the element of rarity. Coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint typically carry no mint mark, making them look deceptively plain. Yet among these, certain examples rise above the crowd due to errors, sharpness of strike, or sheer preservation quality. Collectors are not merely buying a coin, they are investing in a piece of American history, in a physical artifact that survived decades of circulation and still tells a story. Think about the sheer numbers. In 1994, the U.S. Mint produced over 7 billion pennies. With numbers so massive, you might assume that every penny from that year is worthless beyond its face value. After all, pennies are often ignored, abandoned in jars, or left lying on sidewalks. Yet it is precisely within these billions that the rare gems hide. A handful of 1994 no-mint mark pennies struck under ideal conditions, kept out of circulation, or born with tiny minting quirks have become treasures for collectors. One of the most important factors driving the value of these coins is condition. Numismatists use a grading scale, ranging from poor to mint state, to evaluate coins. A coin that has circulated heavily, showing scratches, discoloration, or worn-out details, might only be worth a penny. But a coin that has somehow avoided circulation and remained in pristine, mint state condition can command staggering prices at auction. Imagine a 1994 penny so sharp, so perfect, that every detail of Lincoln's hair, every line of the lettering, stands out with dazzling clarity. That is the kind of penny collectors dream about, and it is the kind of penny that transforms ordinary copper into fortune. Then comes the allure of errors. Coin errors happen when something goes wrong in the minting process, perhaps a misaligned die, an off-center strike, or doubled lettering. These accidents are not supposed to exist, yet when they do, they instantly capture attention. A 1994 penny with such an error becomes not just a coin, but a story, a one-of-a-kind survivor of a mechanical slip. Collectors crave uniqueness, and error coins provide exactly that. The fascination also lies in the psychological appeal. For many people, the idea that something as mundane as a penny could secretly be worth a fortune is irresistible. It sparks curiosity. It makes us search through change jars, pocketfuls of coins, or dusty old drawers. The 1994 no-mint mark penny is not just currency, it is a mystery waiting to be discovered. Every penny you touch could, theoretically, be the rare one. Over the years, some lucky individuals have indeed stumbled upon extraordinary finds. Stories circulate of people discovering valuable pennies while rolling change at home, while shopping, or while searching through inherited coin collections. These tales fuel the fire of interest, pushing more people to examine their coins closely, hoping lightning might strike twice. The 1994 penny's design itself, while common at a glance, carries deeper meaning. Abraham Lincoln's image has endured on the cent for over a century, making it the longest-running coin design in American history. The reverse, depicting the Lincoln Memorial, was designed by Frank Gasparo and first appeared in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. By 1994, millions of Americans had carried this design in their pockets without giving it a second thought. Yet, for collectors, the design represents continuity, heritage, and the enduring respect for one of America's greatest leaders. Owning a rare specimen of this coin connects you not only to Lincoln himself but also to the entire sweep of modern American history. Another element to consider is the role of auctions in shaping coin values. When a pristine or rare 1994 no-mint mark penny hits the auction block, bidders compete fiercely, driving prices into eye-popping territory. Each sale sets a precedent, influencing how much collectors are willing to pay the next time. Auction houses become theaters of excitement, where what looks like a simple penny suddenly becomes the star of the show, commanding attention and admiration. It is worth noting that the value of rare coins often grows over time. As more people learn about these rarities, as collectors expand their collections, and as pristine examples become harder to find, demand pushes values higher. This is why coins like the 1994 no-mint mark penny are seen not only as collectibles but also as investments. Owning one means holding on to something that could appreciate in value, something tangible that carries both history and potential profit. For those new to coin collecting, the 1994 penny offers an exciting gateway. It teaches valuable lessons about paying attention to details, about preservation, and about the hidden worth that lies in everyday objects. It inspires curiosity and patience, the two greatest virtues of any collector. Searching for one of these pennies can turn a simple hobby into a thrilling adventure. As we reflect on the significance of the 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, it becomes clear that its value extends far beyond metal. It embodies history, art, and the thrill of discovery. It reminds us that treasures can hide in plain sight, waiting for those with sharp eyes and an appreciation for the small things. So, the next time you find yourself dismissing a penny as worthless, think again. That small coin in your palm might carry a story richer than you imagine. It might hold the potential to change someone's life, to ignite passion, or to connect the present to the past. Within the billions of ordinary coins minted in 1994, a rare few shine with extraordinary value, proving that even the humblest objects can become treasures. And now, after exploring the history, the rarity, the fascination, and the thrill of the hunt, we arrive at the heart of the matter: the price. A 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny in exceptional condition has been known to reach the incredible sum of $34,444. Welcome back, coin enthusiasts and history lovers, to another fascinating journey into the world of United States coinage. Today we're diving deep into a coin that many of us have seen, held, and perhaps even overlooked countless times in our daily lives: the 1996 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it may appear like just another ordinary copper-plated zinc cent, the kind that jingles in pockets, gets lost in couch cushions, or sits forgotten in jars on our shelves. But as we've learned time and time again in the world of numismatics, sometimes the most unassuming coin hides an extraordinary story and an astonishing value. The Lincoln cent has been a staple of American currency since 1909. First introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure rather than allegorical images like Liberty. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the penny quickly became an iconic symbol of American currency. Over the decades, it underwent several design changes, but Lincoln's dignified profile remained a constant, a silent witness to generations of American history. Now, when we talk specifically about 1996, it's important to understand the era. The mid-1990s were a fascinating time for U.S. coin production. Technology had advanced, the U.S. Mint was striking billions of coins each year, and the penny was being produced in staggering numbers. The 1996 Lincoln cent was no exception. At the Philadelphia Mint alone, more than 6.5 billion pennies were struck that year. With such a massive production, one might wonder, how could a coin from 1996 without a mint mark possibly be worth anything more than its face value? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, errors, and collector demand. You see, while billions were produced, not all coins are created equal. Among those billions, only a fraction survive in pristine, untouched condition, and within that fraction, even fewer carry the traits collectors hunt for. Traits that can turn a single cent into a coin worth thousands of dollars. First, let's address the no mint mark detail. Most collectors know that U.S. coins are struck at different mint facilities across the country, with each mint stamping its own identifying letter. For instance, Denver coins carry a D, San Francisco coins may carry an S, and coins from Philadelphia either bear no mint mark at all or, in some cases, a P. For pennies in 1996, Philadelphia struck them without a mint mark. So when we say 1996 no mint mark Lincoln cent, we're really talking about those issued by the Philadelphia Mint. Millions upon millions exist, but the value depends on much more than just the lack of a mint mark. What makes certain 1996 no mint mark pennies desirable to collectors are qualities like flawless strikes, minimal contact marks, sharp details, and dazzling original luster. Coins graded at the highest levels, such as Mint State 67 or Mint State 68 by professional grading services, can command impressive prices because they are so difficult to find in such immaculate condition. Most pennies struck for everyday use are tossed into circulation, where they accumulate scratches, dings, and wear within days of leaving the mint. To discover one in near-perfect condition is like finding a time capsule, a glimpse into the exact moment it rolled off the press nearly 3 decades ago. Beyond condition, there are also intriguing varieties and errors that make some 1996 pennies particularly valuable. Collectors always keep their eyes open for doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, and other unusual features. A doubled die, for instance, occurs when the design on the die shifts slightly during the hubbing process, causing letters or numbers on the coin to appear doubled. These varieties are often dramatic and highly collectible, fetching premiums far above face value. Similarly, off-center strikes, where the coin's design is misaligned, or coins struck on the wrong planchets, can transform an everyday penny into a rare and sought-after specimen. Now, let's take a step back and think about the humble penny itself. By 1996, the composition of the cent had already changed from its earlier bronze alloy to the modern copper-plated zinc we're familiar with today. Since 1982, pennies have been composed mostly of zinc with only a thin layer of copper, making them lighter and more economical for the mint to produce. This change, however, also made them more prone to damage and corrosion. That's why high-grade 1996 pennies are harder to come by. Zinc cores don't hold up nearly as well as the older bronze versions. Imagine, then, the journey of one of these coins. Minted in Philadelphia, it rolls off the presses with bright red luster, its fields gleaming, and Abraham Lincoln's profile standing out in crisp detail. Perhaps it was bagged, shipped to a bank, and immediately entered circulation, where it was spent on a soda, handed out as change, or rattled around in a child's piggy bank. Over time, most of these coins would be nicked, scratched, or tarnished, blending into the sea of billions of other cents. But maybe, just maybe, one coin avoided all that. Perhaps it was set aside by a collector who noticed its exceptional shine, or it slipped into a roll of coins that sat untouched for decades. These are the survivors, the treasures that command attention today. The fascination with coins like the 1996 no-mint mark penny also highlights something deeper about collecting: the thrill of discovery. Every time you open a roll of change, glance at a handful of coins, or search through a jar, there's the possibility, however slim, that you might stumble upon a hidden gem. And with billions of coins in circulation, the odds are that remarkable pieces are still out there, waiting to be found. Collectors love stories of everyday people who discovered that a coin they thought was ordinary is actually worth a small fortune. It's a reminder that value often hides in plain sight, and that careful attention to detail can reveal treasures others have overlooked. That's part of what makes the world of coin collecting so captivating. Now, you might be wondering, what is the highest known value for one of these 1996 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies? Out of billions, a few exceptional coins have surfaced in remarkable condition, drawing serious interest from collectors and commanding astonishing sums at auction. These coins prove that even in a series as common as the Lincoln cent, greatness can emerge. As we reflect on the journey of the Lincoln cent, from its origins in 1909 to its role in 1996 and beyond, it's clear that this tiny coin carries a legacy far larger than its size suggests. It is not just a piece of metal used for commerce, but a slice of American history, an artifact of design and technology, and in rare cases, a valuable collectible that can change someone's life. So the next time you find yourself dismissing a penny as insignificant, take a closer look. You might just be holding a coin that tells an incredible story. And for a lucky few, that story ends with a number that is nothing short of breathtaking. Because believe it or not, one of these seemingly ordinary 1996 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent pennies has sold for an extraordinary price: $45,373. In the world of coin collecting, there are treasures hiding in plain sight. Some of them rest quietly in old jars, tucked away in basements or attics. Others slip through our fingers in everyday transactions, passed along without much thought. Yet among these ordinary coins, there are those that stand out because of their history, their design, their rarity, or their errors. Today, we turn our attention to a coin that might seem modern and common at first glance, but upon closer inspection reveals a fascinating story. That coin is the 2003 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark. At first, you may think of pennies as the most ordinary coins in American currency. After all, they are everywhere. They clink in our pockets, they rest in change trays, and most of us barely give them a second look. But to collectors, the story is much deeper. Every penny carries the mark of history, telling us something about the time in which it was struck, the design it carries, and even the minting process itself. The 2003 D penny is no exception. In fact, it is a coin that has gained special interest among collectors because of its place in the long-running Lincoln cent series and because of some surprising values that certain examples have managed to fetch. Let's start at the beginning, with the Lincoln penny itself. This coin series is one of the longest running in American history, beginning in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the coin famously features Lincoln's portrait, the first time in American history that a real person had been placed on a circulating coin rather than symbolic figures like Liberty. That decision was a monumental shift in U.S. coinage design, and it connected the penny forever to the nation's beloved 16th president. By 2003, the Lincoln cent had been in circulation for nearly a century. But the design remained iconic. On the obverse, we still see Lincoln's face and profile, facing to the right. The word, Liberty, appears to his left, while the date of issue appears to his right. Above his head, as always, rests the national motto, "In God We Trust." This design is so familiar that many Americans barely notice it anymore. Yet for collectors, every detail matters. The style of the numbers in the date, the placement of the mint mark, and even the sharpness of Lincoln's hair and beard can determine whether a coin is worth just 1 cent or hundreds of dollars. The reverse side of the 2003 penny continues the memorial design introduced in 1959. That design was created by Frank Gasparo to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Instead of the wheat ears that graced the earlier pennies, the memorial design shows the Lincoln Memorial Building in Washington, D.C. If you look closely, you can even see the tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a small but powerful detail that demonstrates the artistry of American coin engravers. Above the memorial appear the words, "United States of America," and the motto, "E pluribus unum." Below the memorial sits the denomination, 1 cent. Now let us focus on the mint mark. The 2003 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint, indicated by the letter D, placed just below the date on the obverse. The Denver Mint has been producing coins since 1906, and its mint mark is one of the most recognizable among collectors. Millions upon millions of Lincoln cents rolled out of Denver in 2003, joining those produced at the Philadelphia Mint and San Francisco Mint for proof issues. With such a high mintage, you might wonder why anyone would pay special attention to the 2003 D penny. After all, with hundreds of millions minted, it would seem that they are still too common to be valuable. But this is where the fascinating world of coin collecting comes into play. The true worth of a coin is not just about how many exist, but about condition, demand, and unique characteristics. For example, coins that survive in pristine condition can command prices far above their face value. The grading scale used by collectors ranges from poor, where the coin is barely recognizable, up to mint state, where the coin appears as if it just left the presses. A 2003 D penny in circulated condition might not seem like much, but in mint state, with brilliant luster and no visible marks, its appeal increases dramatically. Then there are error coins. The minting process, though precise, is not perfect. Mistakes happen, and when they do, collectors often go wild for them. Double dies, off-center strikes, missing layers, clipped planchets, and die cracks are just some of the errors that can transform an ordinary penny into a sought-after rarity. The 2003 D Lincoln cent has been reported in several interesting error varieties. Some examples show die cracks that run across the coin, sometimes resembling lines or raised bumps. Others show off-center strikes where the design is shifted noticeably. And in very rare cases, coins with double die features on the lettering or numbers can be found. These errors are not just quirks, they are the very things that give collectors a reason to pay hundreds, even thousands, for a coin that otherwise would be worth just a single cent. It's also important to understand the historical context of 2003. By this time, the composition of the penny had long since changed from the pure copper of earlier decades. Since 1982, pennies have been made primarily from zinc, with just a thin layer of copper coating to give them the familiar color. This change was made because the price of copper had risen so much that producing copper pennies cost more than their face value. The 2003 penny, therefore, carries this modern composition, 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating. While some collectors lament the loss of solid copper coins, others view these newer pennies as an essential part of the ongoing story of American coinage. condition and rarity remain the key. A 2003 penny in average condition might pass unnoticed in daily use. But when preserved carefully, free from scratches and discoloration, or when struck with an error that makes it unique, this coin transforms into a hidden gem. Collectors hunt for these gems, searching through rolls of coins from the bank or buying up large lots just to see what surprises they can uncover. One of the most thrilling aspects of coin collecting is the possibility that a simple penny could be worth a fortune. Imagine finding one in your change, not realizing that you hold a miniature treasure until you take a closer look. This excitement is part of what makes numismatics so captivating. Every coin tells a story, and some stories end with astonishing discoveries. As for the 2003 Lincoln penny, there have been instances where pristine, rare, or error examples sold at remarkable prices. These are not everyday finds, of course, but they remind us that value can hide in the smallest of places. A coin struck over 20 years ago, still in circulation, can hold a secret that only a careful eye can uncover. Collectors often encourage beginners to check their pocket change, to study the coins they come across, and to learn the details of each year and mint. The Lincoln series, being so long-running, offers countless opportunities to discover something unusual. From 1909 until today, the Lincoln cent has witnessed countless design changes, minting techniques, and errors. The 2003 penny is a modern piece of that history, and its potential makes it one worth paying attention to. So, the next time you come across a 2003 penny with the D mint mark, take a closer look. Is it in excellent condition? Does it have sharp details? Could there be an error hiding in the design? The more you learn about these coins, the better you become at recognizing the rare ones. And when you do, you might just be holding something much more valuable than a single cent. After all, coin collecting is not just about money, it's about the connection to history, the artistry of design, and the thrill of discovery. It's about realizing that even the smallest piece of metal can tell a story stretching back over a century, linking us to the past while reminding us of the value hidden in everyday life. And for those who are lucky enough to find the right kind of 2003 Lincoln penny, its value has been recorded at an astonishing $12,999.